Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Capitalist Corner. I am your host, Mark Pellegrino, and also the chairman of the American Capitalist Party, along with my co-host and the vice chair of the American Capitalist Party, Michael Liebowitz, who's also the host of his own show, The Rational Egoist, which I'm sure all of you are now watching and or listening to on a daily basis. You need to get your Rational Egoist fix, and you also need to share, like it, subscribe to it, push it along all social media platforms, so that rational egoism replaces altruism as the dominant moral culture. So, Michael, any new news? Oh, we did a little segment on your thing. So,
A great segment that's up there right now, and coming up, we've got just a whole bunch. I've got an interview arranged in about 10 days or so with the guy who wrote that article that you and I covered the other day on Econ 101. He's agreed to come on. I've got a guy we from Psychology Today that you and I discussed the article about why feeling like a victim breeds conspiracy thinking. He's coming on. I got the great Don Boudreau coming on. I got a debate Sunday with, well, not really a debate, a discussion with Fabian Liberty. Just a lot of great stuff coming up. I'm very excited about it.
oh, great. That's good to hear. Very productive, very prolific. Lots of good stuff out there for you guys to consume to counter the narrative of the popular culture today. I have to say, of course, what we say here is not representative of the American Capitalist Party. It is our own point of view. But if you want to find out what the American Capitalist Party is all about, go to americancapitalistparty.org and check out the policies. If they appeal to you, as I think they will, if you're a liberty-minded person, if you're a rational egoist, if you believe that you have a right to your own values and to the disposal of your own values, well, then you can donate and you can become a member of the American Capitalist Party and make this a real thing. Coming up very shortly, I think within the week, is an election over there in Argo, Alabama, where our treasurer is running for a city councilman, and we hope that he is successful. Because not only will that be a win for the American Capitalist Party, it will be a win for the people in Argo, Alabama, who have been under the thumb of the good old boy network for too long. It's time to break the stranglehold of politics as usual in the South. Today is also Q&A day, folks. So if you have some questions for us, please post them. I think now Persephone is able to check out these questions for us and
Yes.
post them so that we don't have to worry about missing them. And you won't be mad at us because we miss your questions in the chat while we are actually discussing articles.
Yeah. Monday, by the way, is our 100th episode.
Wow. We're cooking right along, folks. And hopefully we'll have thousands more subscribers. I also want to thank Kaya Prigmore. She does wood burnings for me. She's done wood burnings of Frankie and me and my little pet community. And I recently posted an AI adapted wood burning of hers where we come to life. Me, Cody, Frankie, and Johnny come to life in the wood cutting. I posted it on X. You should check it out. I think it's adorable and sort of close to what they all are. I mean, the way I pet Cody isn't the way I pet Cody, to be honest with you, because it looks like I'm beating him to death with my hand. But otherwise, it's a super cute little thing you should see on my social media. And because my social media is so often filled with contention, you know, every once in a while you got to sweeten it up with content like that, I think, so that people don't get totally discouraged by never-ending warfare that seems to be happening on my X channel. You sent me a plethora of articles, as usual, and
this was an insomnia-driven roll through.
Which, by the way, I think I heard the notifications on my fucking computer at like 2 a.m. I kept hearing it.
Maybe earlier.
It just kept going off, and I'm like, is my wife texting me from Paris? I almost thought it was an emergency, but figured she'd call me on the home phone if it was an emergency. And so I didn't get up, but every once in a while, just as I was back to falling asleep again, another ding happened, and I had to say to myself, that's Liebowitz sending a fucking article because he can't get to sleep. You need a sleep supplement, my friend.
Well, you told me you were going to get me this
Naora.
Yeah, where is it?
Well, you want me
to
buy
even look into it yet?
Do you want me to buy it for you and send it? Look, I will send you. I probably forgot to send you the package, what it looks like. But yes, I will send that. Naora, you can look. You can
I don't
look
want.
up,
I don't want to know what the package looks
you
like.
can look
I'm
up
good.
online. No, but
I'm good.
it'll tell you the information as well. Naora, Neora. Look it up, man. Look it up online, and then look up their wellness chews, and then go to the night chews, and you can look at the ingredients. They're all holistic. It's very good for you. And you take one of those, and I guarantee you're going to start sleeping a lot better.
All right. Well, let's
This
get it
is
done.
not this is not information coming from a doctor. I don't know how it's going to interact with any medication you may be taking, so I am making a disclaimer right now. Lee also said something that Mark Shepard said about me. I want to tell you, Lee, Mark Shepard is a fucking idiot. All right, I'm just letting you know, Shepard is the fucking idiot. And he would never say that to my face. He loves me, but he would never say that to my face because he knows I would
I'm
hurt.
curious though. It seemed like there was Dr. iScope is pointing this out. It seemed like there was an offer to buy the Naora for me, but that offer was quickly retracted.
That is a lie. That is an outright lie, and you are perpetuating a lie.
Where are the questions? I need some good questions.
Yeah, let's get to the questions, folks.
I have my lunch here, by the way. This is my lunch.
Because I'll start talking about articles here. Okay, are you going on a liquid lunch? All right. Is that because of the teeth?
No, I just love these. This is peanut passion. It's like peanut butter, bananas, blueberries, strawberries with a hint of whey protein and a shot of coffee. It's great.
Okay. Well, folks.
What's the laughing? I don't. Why did you laugh?
It was the shot of coffee. It did it to me. The shot.
Okay. All right.
A Georgia woman could lose $30,000 after local government denies her a permit to open her hair salon. This is so despicable to me. I hate this zoning stuff and the fact that these bureaucrats and levels of bureaucrats, not just one office, but levels of bureaucrats, have to give you permission to open a business. Now, this is especially galling since this woman, I think, devoted somewhere in the neighborhood of $35,000 to $36,000 to the remodeling of the new place. She was expanding her business. She dotted all of her I's, crossed all of her T's, and yet this board member in particular, responsible for allowing these expansions and giving these permits, quote unquote, denied her the permit because there was too much saturation of her particular business in that community. Now, this is disturbing. Michael, do you want to talk about why this?
It is. They also had it was based on some idiotic thing where there was too many of these hair businesses in the
saturation means.
Yeah, in the vicinity, and I'm just like, who the fuck is the government to decide who that there's too many of these businesses? Let her go. If she can't compete, she goes out of business. If she's the best, somebody else maybe goes out of business. That's how consumers get the best product. But it's just such a blatant violation of property rights. I really despise this stuff. Like, to my core, I hate this.
And I'm pretty sure that cities that don't have zoning laws have proven to be far more productive. Right? They've proven that this stuff really, really enhances the community in many ways. I remember going to a restaurant in Houston in a residential area. It was a converted house into a Michelin star restaurant. Very popular, caused no problems within the community, but nonetheless brought great prosperity to that area. Zoning laws, folks, are one of the major prohibitors against building and entrepreneurship in building. It's causing housing crises here particularly in California, but across the United States. In California, they're not allowed to build multi-person dwelling homes or duplexes on the properties that were burned down in the Pacific Palisades. So this is still a place that has been largely abandoned, and the people there still without homes because the building cannot begin construction. And this after Governor Newsom and Bass has said they were going to cut through all the red tape and allow building to be pursued as quickly as possible. Still not happening, folks. And it won't happen so long as these zoning laws are allowed to be in effect. We're still going to have shortages. And also these permitting, these permits and certificating laws that people have to go through. They compel people to invest capital in permission as opposed to investing it in their business. And some people who are extremely good at their profession actually can't start legitimate businesses because it costs too much money to get their certification for it. I told this story before. My stepdaughter got her hair braided by somebody in an apartment complex that we were living in. We had two places at the time. One of them was an apartment complex in Burbank. And she got it from a woman who was an expert in the field, but could not afford the $5,000 it cost to purchase a certificate that would enable her to work in a legitimate salon. Now, that to me hurts the poor fella. That to me hurts the person who's trying to raise capital to rise in his economic station. Another perfect example, my old jiu-jitsu teacher, Marcus Vinicius, God bless you. I know you're out there still practicing jiu-jitsu, but he purchased Beverly Hills Jiu-Jitsu Academy and refurbished it, and was forced to put handicapped ramps in and handicapped facilities within this academy, where absolutely no one with those kinds of issues would practice. But it cost him so much extra money that he ended up losing the business to somebody, had to sell it to somebody, and then became a teacher, still in-house teacher, but he lost the business because he just lost all his capital, couldn't afford it. Stupid. And it hurts people at the bottom rung of the economic ladder. And so luckily for us, though, some of these folks are taking these people to court. They're winning at the higher court level. So perhaps some of these zoning laws will be relaxed. I mean, what the zoning guy said to her is particularly galling. I don't know if I would have been able to restrain myself, Michael, from punching the guy in the face, because he says, you know, you've done everything right. Your business is so successful. It's so awesome. It just hurts my heart, but I have to say no.
And what did he tell her? You just picked the wrong place.
You just picked the wrong place. Like it's his decision. This is so galling, folks. One of the great things about capitalism, Michael, is that the capitalists take risks. They invest in these things. You know, the workers who end up, you know, populating these businesses, they don't take the risk. They receive the benefits. It's the capitalist that takes all the risk, and the risk of losing everything if they have chosen the location badly.
Ooh, Jim Valliant here has a interesting point of view here. He says they are Fifth Amendment takings, the taking of private property for public use. That's an interesting argument. Jim, I would love to have you on sometime to make that argument. That'd be great to hear.
Yes, that is an unconventional argument. Well,
Jim's an unconventional guy.
He certainly is. So do you have anything more to say about this, folks? We as capitalists are against these kinds of zoning laws. We think that if you have the capital to start a business, you should be able to do it. It's the market that decides whether or not that area is saturated with too much of what you're bringing to the table. In other words, people voluntarily choosing. That's what the market is. There should no longer be certification laws. You shouldn't have to pay a bureaucrat to work in a salon. If you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing. You know who's going to be your judge, your customer. And your customer will make you successful or not based on your skill level. Greg Lewis says, does the American Capitalist Party have a position on the Institute for Justice? I don't have a position on the Institute for Justice. Do you, Michael?
The party definitely doesn't. I don't know all their work to be able to endorse them, but throughout the years, I have seen good stuff coming from them. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that they were big in fighting the Kelo decision here in Connecticut, where they took private property for private use. Is the crowd clamoring to get Jim on right now? Is that what's happening? I'm just curious. It seems like maybe that's happening. At least Ariana's clamoring.
James, maybe we should bring James on just so that he can talk about this takings clause.
Okay.
And see how this is justified.
I'm going to send him a link. If he wants to hop on, he can hop on. If he doesn't, he doesn't. How about that? I need an answer from you, Mark. I asked.
Yeah, bring him on. So Enric says, Mark, do you write stories and screenplays? I've been reading Ethan Hawke's writing. Yes, I know Ethan Hawke writes. He writes novels. I do write. I am in the middle of a third draft of a screenplay and in the third act of an outline for another screenplay. The first one is a political satire. The second one is a horror movie, which is, of course, most of you know is my favorite genre. So I think both are good. My wife read the first 10 pages of my first draft and really liked it. And I'm 3 drafts into it after a couple of critiques from Paul Gay, the great objectivist writer himself.
You were supposed to try to get him on. What happened?
I forgot. I'm busy. Remember, you got
okay.
You got to keep reminding me of this stuff.
Can I tell a fun story? Okay, can I tell a fun story about Jim Valliant?
Yes, tell a fun story about Jim.
Jim, you're gonna love this story, Jim. If at any time I'm sharing too personal of information, just chime in and tell me to shut the F up. So this is what happened.
Well, won't be too late. You've already shared it, and then by the time you see the thing in the chat where he says, "Can you please shut the fuck up?" It's already out. The cat's out of the bag.
You got a point, but we're not going to worry about it. So this is what happened. So Jim Valliant and I one night were arguing about something on the phone. I don't remember what it was, but I was at this time in a different bedroom in the house. So, Subby is in the next bedroom, and I'm like, I can't be up all night yelling. And Jim is loud, and I got him here. We're doing the face-to-face thing. The interesting thing that happened, so my screen freezes, and I can't tell Jim I have to go. Right? I'm like, so he's going and going, and I don't want to just hang up on him because I'm thinking that's going to be rude. He went on and on and on and on and on and on. Finally, after, I don't know, maybe half hour, he figures it out, right? that I'm frozen, right? Yeah. And he says, but this is the funniest part of it. He then looks and he says, "Oh Lord," he says, "I've done it again." Again? This is a common occurrence where someone's screen freezes and you just keep yapping. Oh Lord. But Jim is the absolute best. I absolutely adore Jim. That is his personality. He is freaking wonderful.
So Jim, I know you're in the chats right now. What could the federal government conceivably do about some of these onerous zoning laws, because they're local, really? And could the federal government use its power in some way to convince the states that this is not really pro-life? This is not really the purview of a proper government. So they certainly can't do what Trump does, which is issue edicts across the board, or legislate over the states, since we're sort of, the federal government and the states are sort of co-equal partners in this federation. What exactly could the federal government do to persuade the local communities to start loosening up their regulatory binds on construction and on business and on new entrants into the fields of business? Do you have an idea?
Have you read the private chat by any chance?
No, I haven't. Oh, I got to look at it.
Yes, take a peek.
Yeah.
I really don't know what Jim is going to say about this, but there's something that I think it was in this article, or maybe it was somewhere else, but it doesn't matter, about zoning, that people feel that if they buy a home that is, X value, and that if you build something, it lowers the value of their house. So now they have the right to stop you from doing that. But in my view, they don't. They have the right to their property, to their house. They don't have a right to a given valuation. And something tells me that if I built something next door that doubled their property value, they wouldn't be saying, "Hold on a minute, hold up. I bought this house and I expected a specific value." Life entails risk. Freedom entails risk. The government can't protect everybody from everything, and your right to the evaluation of your house doesn't supersede somebody else's right to build on their property what they want. That's just, it seems common sense to me, but I guess it is not.
Well, some of this is not in my backyard type of stuff, where communities get together and they actually legislate that you can't build a house over so many stories. You can't build a house in this area because we like the view, and it detracts from our view. One of the more I think hypocritical aspects of not in my backyard was when they tried to pass legislation, I think, to put a wind farm off the coast of Hyannisport. Okay, so with this famous Kennedy compound, and I think Edward Kennedy was against it. This is a guy who, at the time, besides being a totally corrupt politician and individual, was also stumping for environmentalism, but he didn't want the ugly wind farm off of the coast where it would mar his view, his family's view, and so the legislation was squashed. Now, what do you think of that? Do you think I don't think that everybody else has a say in what how you build or what you build, but what if they're building something that's ugly, or they're accumulating garbage in their front yard? Or
Well, the problem is that we could always go to the absolute extreme case where you might be able to say they are so egregious in what they're doing that they're violating your property rights. For instance, if you're running a manure mill, I mean, I don't think there actually is such a thing, but maybe there is. What the hell? I don't know.
A manure mill? Did you say?
Yeah, manure mill. Yeah. You're just producing manure in your backyard, like, by the ton, and it's just stinking up the whole area. Then somebody has a gripe saying, hey, listen, this is violating my property right. A strong argument can be made. Or if you're blasting your stereo so much that I can't now enjoy my property, there's certainly.
I'll give you a perfect example.
But I wasn't finished.
Go ahead.
I mean, what happened?
Go ahead. I just felt like interrupting you. Go ahead.
I forgot what I was going to say.
No.
My point is that there are borderline cases, right, where you could make an argument for some things. But the color of your house, whether you build a porch or not, whether you're building vertical, housing, that sort of thing, to me is non-negotiable. But yes, you could bring in the ancillary or the, borderline case. Okay, now listen, there's a thing here. I know I interrupt you, but that's like my thing.
Yeah, well, now it's becoming my thing because I'm hanging out with you too much. Ariana said something interesting, a fun story. Their mower broke down this year. Weeds grew. A certain nosy resident complained about it. Guess what? It's a butterfly garden now. Die mad. So that's one way to deal with these kinds of neighbors. Can I tell you a little story, Michael? And just shut me up if I've told you this story before. And Persephone, am I far back enough now? Because I was crowding the screen, trying to crowd.
What is it? I don't understand that.
It's the way the desk is configured. It's everybody else's fault but mine.
That means you've got to be like, hey.
I like getting up in people's face.
But that's weird, dude.
I'm weird. I'm a weird guy.
You're an actor. I get it.
Yes. Hey, already Catherine has said that already in the chat, so you stole her line.
All right, Catherine.
So I lived in an apartment complex in Hollywood, right? It was a small apartment complex, and underneath me there was a guy who was a chain smoker, and his cigarettes, which he was smoking 24 hours a day, were seeping up through my floor and through my vents and into my own house. And I was starting to get bad reactions to it. I'm not going to read Kat Sterling's thing yet because I want to finish this story.
I didn't intend you to. I just want you to have it so you remember and you know.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So you know me. So after months of tolerating this, I went downstairs to the guy. I knocked on his door. I said, "Hey man, I'm your neighbor upstairs. Could you do me a favor and smoke outside? Because you're literally killing me. Like, I'm starting to have bad respiratory issues because your smoke is seeping up through the floors, and it's also seeping through the heating vents. So I'm suffocating." He's like, "Well, no, man, this is my place. I can do what I want." I said, "Well, no, you live below me. It's our place in a way, and what you're doing is affecting my health. So I don't like it. Can you please do me the courtesy of stepping outside when you smoke?" He said, "I'm going to do what I want." I said, "Here's the deal. Next time I come down here, you're not going to like what's going to happen, but I will come down here. If you don't do this, I'm coming down and I'm going to make you pay." And I went upstairs and he never did it again. He started smoking outside again. That's the way I dealt with it. So he died happy, and probably didn't die because I prevented him from smoking as much as he could. Why do you guys think TikTok in particular skews so far left and essentially promotes socialism and communism? I personally see a lot less Facebook and Twitter than TikTok. I have some feelings about that, but Michael, do you have any initial thoughts on that?
Well, Kat Sterling is giving us direction from the audience. She's saying, just because I have Sterling doesn't mean we have to say it every single time. Well, then why is it on there? I feel like when someone puts it there, we say it. I don't know why TikTok veers left. I know I post to TikTok 4 times a day. I post the same videos there that I post to X and to Instagram, and we get excoriated on TikTok all the time. Just yeah. What do they say? One of the most common things that I get is, podcast equipment needs to be more expensive, or just because you can afford podcast equipment doesn't mean you need to use it. So it does tilt very left, and some of it's just downright communist on there. I do get the occasional question, hey, is that Lucifer? I do get that, but I don't know, why that happens. If I had to guess, I would say it probably happened organically. That people started going there that were from the left, and then they bring their lefty friends, and then leftists tend to like it, so they go there, and then it grows. But that is really just a guess.
I think the visual medium and the type of medium, I think promotes fast, soundbitey type of material, which appeals to superficial thinking, and I think that appeals to the left, who are more emotional. That's why I think right-wing talk radio is more popular with folks, because it's you have to listen to concepts. And so the long-form talk radio show is more popular with people on the right, who used to be a little bit more connected to reality and a little bit more connected to reason than they are today. So I think the visual medium is superficial. I think it lends itself to sound bites. It lends itself to cliches and bromides that are easy to digest. It's done in a way that's sort of flashy and appealing, and so that it just sort of sinks that bad medicine in without much thought. And I think the left is very anti-intellectual, explicitly anti-intellectual, and so it appeals to them more. And it's X does in its own way as well. So the culture.
Well, there was a deliberate attempt at X to turn it right.
There was, and
right. So that's not the same thing. I don't know that TikTok did that intentionally.
Still, I think maybe it's this as well, since the algorithms tend to magnify negativity, outrage.
Well, yeah, you got a point there. I forgot all about the. I think,
right. but I think leftism is, and not to alienate anybody on the left who's listening to us, but I'm going to alienate you. Sorry. It seems like leftism and the extreme rightism, we got the horseshoe phenomenon here going, are both extremely negativistic, and I think negativism plays. It's like rubbernecking an accident. You can't help but look. You want to see that more than you do the positive pro-life thing.
When you said that just now about the not to alienate you, it reminds me of when someone interrupts me and says not to interrupt. Yes.
Yeah, but interrupt. I requalified it.
Okay. So I don't know how familiar you are with professional wrestling, but I'm sure somebody in the audience is. So there was this wrestler called Goldberg, right? But he was a retired football player. His real name was Bill Goldberg. So Bret the Hitman Hart, another wrestler, in his promos, he would call him Bill Goldberg, like over and over again. He just would say, when I wrestle Bill Goldberg. So I think we need to maybe do that to Kat Sterling. Like every time, just overdo it. Kat Sterling. Okay, Kat Sterling. What do you think? Can that be a thing we do?
Sure.
All right. Kat Sterling. That's what we're going to do, Kat Sterling.
But you're going to annoy her.
She's going to love it. What do you mean?
Okay.
That's kind of the point, though, is to annoy her. I mean, a little bit, but it's friendly.
I know.
Oh my God!
Did we read? You're depressing me.
So I got to ask a question. I got a question I got to get to here from Gary Menard.
Good. I was just looking at that.
Well, then why didn't you say something?
I was reading it as you were talking, so I wasn't paying attention to you.
It's right there. It's on the screen.
Yes. Go ahead. Read it.
Related question of property rights and noise crossing property lines. You said previously that the government had no business in wildlife management. as uncomfortable as I am with that concept, I don't really understand the question.
Yeah, it sounds like an almost incomplete thought there, my friend.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm sorry, Gary. I think I know what you're saying, Gary, but I don't want to guess and put words in your mouth. So if you can clarify the question. Oh, okay. He did clarify the question. We were just slow to the game because we're looking at each other instead of looking at the private chat because Persephone sent us the information. So it says a herd of deer or whole race of salmon while on his or property. Okay, the herd of deer or whole race of salmon, not salmon, while on his or her property, or do A and B both have property rights to the wildlife? If they both do, who arbitrates? I still don't understand the question.
I don't either. Yeah, get a little bit more clear. Are there two people competing for those things? Is there something downriver that is competing with those things?
Yeah, if I think that this is like I've heard the classic problem. If I live on a property and there's a stream in the backyard, right, and that stream goes, for miles and miles and miles and miles, do I have a right, for instance, to set a dam up that now stops the water from flowing down? And my answer is, quite frankly, I don't know. I think so. My guess is, if my intuition, which isn't a great guide, but it's here nonetheless, is that yes, that the water that flows is not owned by anybody. The land is owned. So if I stop it from going further, it seems to me that would be my right to do so, but I would really have to delve into it and hear, arguments and counter arguments. What do you think?
This does not represent the views of the American Capitalist Party, folks. This is just Michael Liebowitz's view and mine, just so you know, because we are not experts in this kind of property law. Maybe James Valliant could weigh in on this question and talk about whether.
Why does James Valliant have to weigh in on this? This isn't a legal question.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. This is about individual rights. We're not talking about what the government decides. We're talking here about.
It's a question of whether or not people affected downstream use the stream in the same fashion or need the stream for their own utility. I mean,
but it's not a question of existing law. This is a question about what the law should be.
Right. Which is why Jim, I think, would be more able to facilitate an answer to this question than
I don't grant Jim's supremacy in this issue.
Well, because all you can say is my instinct tells me I can do it because it's basically on my property, even though I don't have specific rights to the water.
Yeah, we can think about it. We can argue about it. We can bring somebody on that's going to make a different point. And while I love Jim Valliant, maybe Cat Sterling can make the argument.
I think there's also, potential neighborhood effects. If it affects people downstream, it affects people upstream. These things also have to be considered too. If people are dependent on that stream for certain aspects of their livelihood, do you have a right to bust in on that or to completely annihilate that?
So Alan Thomas says you can't put up a dam. See, so what I'm wondering,
that's taking away the water. And
what I'm wondering here, let me see at the bottom. Okay, no, that was just that. What I'm wondering, Alan, is are you saying that's the law, or are you saying according to individual rights that you can't do that? Mark, we're having a tough day. Yeah, can I tell you, I'm really stressed out. I know I've had a stressed out day. I had a very hard time sleeping last night. Right. I, as you said, I woke up, I'm texting you. Then I got a barrage of reports to do. So I'm trying to take care of that. I had to clean, I had to work out. I got to take care of the dogs. I had to do laundry. And as I've got everything fit perfectly, like everything's working to get me to go. So I'll make it for the show. And my boss sends me a text that says you have to resend the previous report because it didn't come through for some reason. So I said, okay. So I go to where I keep the reports, and for some reason it disappeared. This report had 12 or 11 permits. It would have taken me a good half hour to do, which would have blown my whole plan out the window. Right. I was so stressed at that moment. Luckily, I was able to retrieve it. Somehow I figured out where it was in my computer, how it, disappeared. I don't know. But nonetheless, it was a stressful situation. I don't know what made me think of that, but
I'm
whatever.
sorry you're feeling so much stress.
What?
I'm sorry you're feeling so much.
Why? What is this voice?
I'm just sorry.
Are
Um,
you are
did
you
you
making some kind of illusion? What's happening?
did you realize that Trump? I think the Trump administration thinks that tariffs are going to make up for, I guess, all the deficits that they're creating with their new tax bill, or the extension of the 2017 tax bill. But this is not, in fact, going to happen. Michael, do you think tariffs can replace income taxes? Do you think they can raise revenue?
You know what? I normally don't even think about this in these terms. I only think about it in terms of I would just like to get rid of all taxes. But I thought that the lady made an excellent argument for why tariffs cannot replace the income tax. And she, brought receipts that they just don't generate that kind of revenue. She's talked about how they're more arbitrary, how, the government right now is subsidized by 49% of it is subsidized by personal income tax. And basically that the tariffs just can't do that. If you were to raise the tariffs to that extent, that's far beyond what even Trump wants to do, and that would have devastating effects. But she also made a good point that they're so contradictory, because on the one hand, they're saying if we put tariffs on products, it's going to incentivize local production, right? Production on in the United States. But on the other hand, they're saying that it's going to drive revenue. But if it's driving revenue, that means that we're still getting the foreign products, that people are still buying them. They're not buying the products over here. So the two are actually in competition with each other. And I thought that was a very astute point on her part.
Well, also that the tariff is on capital goods, which you need to actually start businesses, which you actually need from the very get-go. It's the building blocks of business, which you're taxing. So you're actually also reducing the possibility of bringing business in, right? Making business local will become more expensive all the way around. So it's a silly type of way to raise revenue, folks. But he harkens back to the McKinley administration, which apparently had high tariffs. But did she make a distinction to the 19th century tariffs back then? She did make a distinction. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was.
I don't recall, but the overall point that she was making was that these things are arbitrary. They're not spread out equally as would be a national consumption tax. That they're largely at the discretion of the president, who is going to dictate this company gets it, so it leads to favoritism. There was a lot of very good points that she made.
Right. And at the time, I think in the 19th century, the government spending was somewhere in the neighborhood of 2% of the national of the gross domestic product, where now it's about 115% of the gross domestic product. So there's no possible way any tariff, even besides its self-detonating nature, could raise enough money to make up for the tax breaks and for the extra spending that they're doing in Congress today. So folks, don't swallow the Kool-Aid. Tariffs suck. They hurt business all the way around. We have to acknowledge that we are not a manufacturing country anymore. We've been a service country for almost 100 years. And that's not because jobs are going overseas for any failed reasons, because we're becoming too rich for those jobs to continue here. And so the job market is changing, and that's good for us. The fact that other people can make products cheaper than us, more economically than us, let them do it, and let those products become accessible to the people here domestically, and your cost of living will go down. So the solution from the American Capitalist Party perspective with respect to trade is to zero tariff everyone, zero tariffs for all. So free trade with everyone, entangling alliances with none if that's possible. But look at all the contention that Trump has caused in the international stage. I mean, now we're in trade wars with people. There's a general state of irritation and trigger points everywhere for real, I think, more than trade wars to break out, but starting with this kind of contentiousness. This is from Long Defiant. The state backs property claims with violence. Is this a form of welfare for property owners? No. No.
No, I was thinking of maybe some elaboration. I agree, but
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's the state. The state's proper function is to retaliate against initiated force. So the property claim is the claim is a right, right? That person has a claim to property, then it's their right to use and dispose of that property as they see fit, and no one can initiate force against that human being. The state protects the use and disposal of that property from that person. Of course, it has to be protected with retaliatory violence, which I see as a very different form of violence than initiated violence. But Michael, if you have something to add to that, please do.
I actually agree with what you said, Mark, that the state, in essence, if it's proper, if the government is proper, it's an extension of the individual's right to self-defense and what the individual actually allocates to the government. And it's the only thing really is the right of retaliatory force. That is done for practical reasons. Right. So we can't have each individual deciding for himself who stole, how much they stole, what the proper penalty is. That stuff needs to be adjudicated so that everybody can act in a framework of objective law. That's why we need government. So an individual has the right to defend his property and go retrieve it if it's been stolen, and the state is just an extension of that. So no, that is not welfare, especially in a just society where people are paying the government for that service. Kathy Cassio asks, Michael, have you considered doing a sleep study to help with your sleep issues? Lack of sleep will lead to health issues. I actually have, but I haven't looked into it because I'm a little confused about what these sleep studies are. Right? Because it seems to me that if you put this is not natural. If you put me in a room, right, and I've got things hooked up to me and people are watching me, I'm going to have a hell of a hard time sleeping. This is not the natural environment. So if somebody has an answer to that,
it might actually be a better environment for you, because they might try to set it up so the temperature is exactly right for sleeping. The environment is calm. It's dark. It actually might help you sleep. And if it doesn't, then that just is more grist for the mill, more information for you. Is retaliatory force a market-based concept? No.
No, a retaliatory force and the right to self-defense are the prerequisites for having a legitimate functioning market. Because if you don't have those things, then you have chaos and everybody thinks they can do whatever they want for themselves. I suspect that this is an ANCAP question, because ANCAPs tend to think that the forces that regulate the market could also regulate the defense of the market. But the market operates within the realm of defense in retaliatory force. It is not a part of it. And if you try to opt for this, one of the results would likely be you're going to end up with mafias, right? Because criminals, for instance, want protection too. The whole role of the mafia is to protect criminals, because criminals can't go to the police for their illegal operations to protect them, so they pay the mafia for that protection. I don't know why that wouldn't happen under the ANCAPs system, but that's my long-winded way of answering no, retaliatory force is not a market concept.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, the market is driven by subjective value preferences, and rights are not subjective value preferences. Defining what retaliatory force is not a subjective value preference. And if you start using that as a standard for choosing a force agency, you are going to come up with lots of contradictory force agencies that will be in constant contention with each other. And force agencies in contention with each other is called war. And we don't want to see that. James Valliant says you can do sleep studies at home, by the way. There's also an app. There's also a dream app that I'll tell you about after the program, if you remind me, that will actually track your sleep. So it can track your snore. It will record snoring. It can differentiate between snoring, animal noises outside. It'll talk about that because it'll measure those levels, because some of those levels might be keeping you from sleeping. It'll measure light levels because some of those levels may be keeping you from sleeping. sleep apnea may be waking you up too much during that. You may be drinking too much caffeine. It will also tell you how often you fart during the night, Michael, which is something that we want to be made public on.
Yes. Let me just address this real quickly here. Long Defiant, while I appreciate your continued questions, I simply cannot allow you as one person to dominate the show with questions. I would defer you. I have actually debated Walter Block on this issue. I've debated not Stephen Kinsella. I've debated Walter Block on this issue. I've debated David Friedman on this issue. I've debated Liquid Zulu on this issue. These debates are all online where you can go. I also debated Professor Michael Humer on the issue. So you can go and you can watch the debates and you can see my answers to the questions that you're asking. It's just not fair to the rest of the audience to focus on one person's questions.
But you might. Okay, you didn't want to answer that question anyway.
Well, hold on.
For the sake of some folks who haven't considered this question before, or who think that
question. My problem is the question is going to lead to another question, and I don't want to do that. But we can answer this one. Would the concept of state-backed retaliatory force naturally arise under capitalism? It doesn't arise under capitalism. Capitalism arises when there's a government that's going to protect people's property. Property rights exist independent of government, right? But then you form a government, but in order to protect those things. But in order to have functioning capitalist markets that go beyond your basic barter type systems, then you need to have a state. So the capitalism arises within they kind of arise together, I would think. But that doesn't mean it's always going to happen and everywhere happens. But in order to have capitalism, you need to have a government. So I don't know that so you don't have a government arise because you have capitalism. You have full capitalism can arise because you have a government that's there to protect property.
Now, Ray says something. Would it be better to say individual value preferences instead of subjective value preferences? Yeah, Race, I do hate the concept of subjective value preferences and often use contextual value preferences in my own language. But for the purposes of talking to somebody who's an ANCAP, I say subjective value preferences because I think more often than not, an ANCAP is a subjectivist. So they would understand that language a little bit better.
I think it's the same thing. I think it's a distinction without a difference.
Yeah.
You're not saying because it's a subjective phenomenon. You're subjectively valuing things. So
You're probably right. It's just that I think objectivists have an issue with subjective in almost any evaluation of something. The idea that subjective is a real thing can sometimes bother some objectivists. Even though it is a real thing, folks, some things are subjective. Some things are subjective, and that's okay. We're human beings, after all. There's a Mother Jones article you sent me. If we don't have another question, right?
I just don't want to deter Long Defiant. Long Defiant, we appreciate your questions.
Yeah,
I just really don't want to. Yeah, it's just that we just can't have this show be all about that. You know what I mean?
But please, every Friday, come with questions because I like those questions.
Absolutely.
It distinguishes capitalism from anarchism. It distinguishes the Capitalist Party from the Libertarian Party. So I think those distinctions are very important to be made for people. And we want people like you, thinkers out there who are really thinking about what the state is, what its actual function is supposed to be, what's the individual's relationship to the state. We want people like you in our party because you're thinkers and you're thinking about these things and trying to make rational choices. So we really appreciate your questions and keep bringing them, especially when there's days when nobody has questions. Although Lee is saying, please let me on. Lee, you cannot come on the show because you said what Mark Shepard said about me was true. And so my act of vengeance against you is to not allow you on the show again. I'm kidding, by the way, but Mother Jones, you sent me an article by Mother Jones. Trump's USDA eliminates support for renewable energy, a lifeline for farmers. Michael, this article was very interesting to me because it talked about, how comparatively little farmland is used for renewable energy and how much land is used for corn, which is, of course, one of the major ingredients in ethanol, and for soy, which is another energy producer. The claim being that, you know, the Trump administration, particularly against renewables, is really not attacking the core of the issue. When it certainly isn't, because both corn and soy are also subsidized crops, which we would have far less of if the subsidies were taken from soy and corn to produce ethanol and to produce high fructose corn syrup and all the other ways in which corn is now used in our diet to make us unhealthy. So it made a strange sort of self-detonating point about this. I mean, when I think about all the acreage that is used, and I forget the exact number that was used for all the renewable energy, for the sun, for the wind farms, and for the solar farms, I think, oh my God, 1 acre of a nuclear plant could take care of all of that. You could save all of that land by just building a nuclear plant. My dog is broken out of his fortification, so you have to talk now.
Of course he did. So, oh no. Okay. So my thinking on this is that I love the idea of cutting subsidies to these companies. What I think, though, is it's often done for the wrong reason, right? Like they're saying we need to cut subsidies for these things because corn needs to be used to feed people, not to, feed environmentalism. That aggravates me. It should not be done because it's not the will of the people with the money to do it. You're stealing their money to finance it, right? So I disagree with Marsha Blackburn, while I agree that the subsidies should be cut, but they just redirect this stuff to other places, right? They're not against subsidies per se. They're just against subsidizing this. And it takes me back to thinking about zoning, because here in Connecticut, there's a big move to have a, what's the word I'm looking for here? Oh, they want to get zoning to be statewide instead of local because they want to be able to expand housing. So they don't want to get rid of zoning laws because they're unjust or because they violate property rights. They want to get rid of local zoning laws so they can implement their own version, right? So this is why I think a rational philosophy, a base to go to analyze one's political opinions are vital. There's a guy right now on my X page who is telling me that the fundamentals of political philosophy are individual rights, but individual rights don't just appear, right? They're based on ethics. The concept of right is a moral concept. If you don't have a moral theory, you can't make a lucid argument for rights. That's all I have to say about that. Like I'm Forrest Gump.
That's great. I love that. Great movie. Not sure I agree with the message, but great movie. You're right. You're right. And that's where I think the American Capitalist Party is unique, because we have that foundational philosophy. We have the ethical philosophy that supports the concept of individual rights. You sent me a post by Stephen Moore that said the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, is floating a federal tax on patents without a congressional vote. Now, I don't think I've experienced an executive this out of control in my entire lifetime, Michael. Can you think of an executive branch more out of control than the one we're seeing today? I can't. This would literally tax innovation itself. Patents drive breakthroughs in tech and medicine. That's why America leads in research and development. When you tax something, you get less of it. This is economic suicide. It definitely sounds like it. Is this just another one of Trump's, things that he throws against the wall to see if it'll stick? Something contentious, something to get reactions, so that he could gauge by those reactions whether or not to move on it. Is Lutnick, is this the guy that's actually sort of the fountainhead of the tariff?
No, that's Peter Navarro.
That's Navarro. That's right.
I don't know. I don't know what moves Trump, other than power lust, other than his belief in himself. Can you check your text messages, Mark, please, by the way? But other than power lust and the idea that he can guide people and he can dictate to people what they're going to do, I don't know what it is. It's certainly not principle. So I don't know the answer to the question. I know that it's a horrible, horrible idea. That much I know. that the idea that you're going to tax patents, come on. This is the idea that these people are in any way, shape, or form capitalists is freaking ridiculous.
Which will bring me to the Jacobin article you sent me, which I could only read 3/4 of before I wanted to literally kill myself. Because the fact that anybody considers this administration capitalistic by any stretch of the imagination shows a woeful ignorance with respect to what capitalism really is. Sorry, buddy. So I wanted to get to this article in the Jacobin, or maybe you can call it because I'm having issues, or maybe we can bring Lee on. She needs to advertise her Discord.
Yeah, Lee, I will send you a right now. I will send you.
Do not be boring. Get on here and tell us what you need to say, and don't be boring.
I don't think the problem is never that Lee is too boring.
Really?
No, the problem is she's very exuberant.
Okay.
Lee, I'm sending to you right now on X. So you go there, we'll bring you on, and you can tell us about your Discord server. I think it's great. I think it's great. I can't commit to spending much time there because, one, I don't have Discord, and two, I'm exploding with the amount of things I have to do as it is. But I still think this Discord thing's a good idea.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the Jacobin article here.
Sure.
For those of you who don't know this publication, of course, it is a communist publication up the yin yang. Everything they say in here is
up the yin yang.
Yeah, everything they say in this is agitprop extraordinaire. The title of this unfortunate article, which goes on forever, I might add, is Donald Trump and the return of capitalist nihilism. Now, of course, the return means we are hearkening back to the age of the robber baron. And do you know who they mixed in this robber baron crew with?
I saw. It was terrible.
Did you see the number? But did you see who they acquitted of Vanderbilt with Jay Gould?
Yeah. They also they had Rockefeller in there. I mean, this is just typical garbage critique.
But folks,
of capitalism.
do you know Jay Gould was really a robber baron in the sense that he was a political manipulator. That's what he did. That was his thing. He got his power through who he knew in government and who he was able to manipulate in government. That's not how Rockefeller made his bones.
No.
Vanderbilt, in fact, busted the Fulton monopoly, a monopoly paid for by the state of New York in the steamboat business. He busted that monopoly just by entrepreneurship, by offering better services for free. And incidentally, in the steel and railroad industries, he created better products for less, made things more accessible. That's not Jay Gould. You can't put those two in this. You can't conflate those two characters, man. And yet this article does, as if what we're doing now is experiencing what we experienced in the Gilded Age, which was what? I don't know, growth of 10%, economic growth of almost 10% all the time, people getting wealthier despite millions of people emigrating into the United States for better working conditions, a better life. Even though it might seem ugly to us today, it was an improvement upon what was happening before then. But the things that they talk about, which is the elimination of government programs largely, they call this capitalistic nihilism. Can you get into this a little bit, Michael? Because this kills me.
I do think that Donald Trump is a nihilist. I do not think that he is a capitalist by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a smear job from people with bad philosophy. And given that we're running out of time, may I just suggest to everybody, if you want to learn about the idea of robber barons, check out the book, The Myth of the Robber Barons by Burton Folsom. Really good book, really easy read. I think Mark's read it as well, right, Mark? The Myth of the Robber Barons.
I have read it, and I think I put it. I told Persephone about it as for the Capitalist Corner reading list. It should be on there with the New Deal or Raw Deal by Burton Folsom.
I believe it is. I believe she says it's on the new website, which we also have to promote. But first, we're going to put Lee on. Lee is going to tell us about the Discord, and then we'll tell them about the website, and then we're going to go for the weekend. But here, without further ado, is Lee.
Hello. I got my hoodie on.
Okay,
Yay,
the
nice.
American Capitalist Party hoodie. Nice.
Okay, so basically, me, Persephone, and Kat have made a Discord server, which is basically, I'm going to explain it to both of you like you're 5, because I don't think you know what Discord is.
I think Michael might, but you know,
I do. You don't want my take on Discord, but just tell them where they can go to get on Discord for those who do like it.
So it's basically just a giant group chat, and I'm posting links when there's a new episode of The Rational Egoist, and then when Capitalist Corner goes live as well. And I also posted last night when the Out of Context went up, and then you get a little notification so that you know when it's up, and you can just talk to people in there about capitalism, and it's fun. So I put the link on my Twitter, and then Mike reposted my tweet about the Discord, but not the one with the actual link in it, because he's an idiot.
I am an idiot, but if you send me the link, I will post it. Mark will post it. We're gonna get it out there. Lee, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lee. There we go.
Awesome.
Next time I'll be there to give it to you in person. Thanks, Lee. I'm glad she called you an idiot, Michael, because usually I get that.
No, that's okay. I don't mind that. Okay, Persephone, can you come on now to tell them about the website? Just nod. Yes, if you can. All right. Here's Persephone.
You're muted.
You're muted.
I'm always muted.
I know it happens to me too.
At thecapitalistcorner.org.
Thank you.
Thecapitalistcorner.org. All right. Can I share the link and Mark share the link?
Wait, I think she's continuing.
No, all I was going to say is don't forget the, but I'll post the link today as well.
Awesome. Okay.
You post it. I will share it across my social media platforms. I thank you so much, Persephone. You are awesome for all you do. Lee, thank you so much. You're awesome. And Lee, you do this in the heart of the beast, in the belly of the beast. You are a capitalist in an increasingly socialist UK. That will earn you an extra hard, squishy hug from this guy right here when I invade that country in the near future. To pass on ideas that'll probably get me arrested, right? Because they're arresting people now if you offend somebody. So I'm going to offend lots of commies and socialists out there and people who love the national health system. So they'll probably end up arresting me while I'm over there. Anyway, folks, you heard it here. This concludes an episode of Capitalist Corner. We're close to episode 100. We're coming up on it, inching up on it very soon. You have the whole weekend now to check your premises. So if you're anywhere in there, the anarchist corner, and you're capitalist curious, I suggest you think a little bit more about your premises and push yourself over that edge and into total and absolute freedom that is capitalism, not anarchism, but capitalism. Do we have a capitalist thought for the day? Did we miss that?
Yeah, but it's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah, I do it. It seems like I do it every day. I do it, and then you're not here, and I do it again.
So you had to do it yesterday. That's right. So folks, we had a great discussion, I think, with somebody who's probably an ANCAP out there. Really appreciate his questions because I think they differentiate us from them. Our notion of a proper state versus their notion of a state as inherently improper. Our notion of individual rights versus their notion of preferences, individual preferences that to promote the kinds of protections that they want. That's not the system that we endorse. We endorse a system of proper governance, which means a government that defends your individual rights, and your right to property. Everything else is up to you. That means if you want to help your community in other ways besides value creation, which already enriches your community, folks, you want to go over and above value creation and give to charity, to causes that are meaningful to you, well, you have the moral agency and the capital now, because the government will not be stealing your money, to do those kinds of things. You will also have the self-esteem that is deteriorating under a statist system, as it has to when your moral agency is being robbed from you and you're increasingly turning to the government for answers to everything. Well, no, You have to answer most of the questions of your life yourself. The government need only protect you against the bad guys. So anyway, folks, remember you got, did I say 72 hours? 72 hours to 71 hours?
I don't remember. I don't
Yeah,
think so.
You got a weekend. You got a weekend to figure it out, folks. And we'll see you here Monday, same bat time, same bat place, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. Until that time, folks, happy premise checking. We'll see you. Peace.
And Long Defiant says he is not an ANCAP, for the record.
Thank you, Long Defiant. Join
Yes.
us again, man. We look forward to seeing you.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend, everybody.